Well, good evening. It's Brother Rob Wilson. I want to share with you that the if there was a troll meter, okay, a troll meter from 0 to maxed out, okay, 0 to maxed out on the troll meter. I'm going to share with you a little clip today. If you clicked on the thumbnail, I'm going to share with you a little dialogue, a very, very short dialogue between Jesse Lee Peterson and woke Jesse Lee Peterson. That's what I call it. This is Jesse Lee Peterson was invited on to Rashad Richey's show on the Young Turks. I think the show's called Indisputable. And he claims he reminds me of the old saying that goes, numbers don't lie, but liars use numbers. And many people have missed the fact that I posted this video before, because some people mentioned I should do it. And I've already done this video before, but I haven't done it live, and I haven't done it and done an immediate reaction to it. But I want you to really get a grip on the fact that everything that Rashad Richey is to the extremism on the left, and the worst of the left, Jesse Lee Peterson is to the right. He's the worst of the right. He's the worst of the rhetoric, okay? He's not part of the solution. He's part of the problem. Are you ready? Let's go over this.
Welcome to the bullpen.
Welcome to the bullpen.
In the bullpen today, I have a conservative radio talk personality, TV host, extreme conservative, and he's proud of it.
He's proud of it.
Pastor Jesse Lee Peterson, founder and president of Bond, B-O-N-D, and host of JLP Show and The Fallen State. Pastor Peterson, good day. Welcome to Indisputable.
Thank you for having me on. I appreciate it.
Sir, you all have a celebration coming up next month. Are you not the founder of White History Month, I think, which starts in July?
Yeah, we're going to be celebrating our 4th year of White History Month in July. And the reason that we started it in July.
You know, it's part of people's love affair for this madman, but it's so ludicrous. It's so ludicrous, and it's not helpful at all to do something like White History Month or these counter protests. They're just part of the problem. And this man, Rashad Richey, I've got some clips of Rashad Richey alone. So if you want me to leave Jesse alone, I'll probably do some Rashad Richey clips, because he claims to be a man of God too. He claims to be a Christian, and he's just as hateful on the left as Jesse is on the right. Just as full of hate, as full of vitriol, as full of divisiveness on the left as Jesse is on the right. Look, I'm just speaking against this extremist nonsense.
July is because if you notice, July just feels white.
Yeah.
You know, it's summertime, vacation time, relaxing time, reflecting time, and appreciating the greatest country on this side of heaven.
Gotcha.
And so we are recognizing that and showing our appreciation for it.
I think it's important for people to know you're not a comedian. What you're saying, right? What you're saying, this is actually you. You do this. You're the founder of White History Month.
Yes.
You've also been very critical of Juneteenth. You have called it a fake holiday, but you want to make sure that everyone supports White History Month.
Absolutely.
I do want to have a policy discussion with you about the George Floyd Policing and Accountability Act. I'm going to attempt.
He's not attempting. I'll give you this much. He's not attempting to have a policy discussion with Jesse Lee Peterson. And this is the reason why so many people say you should go on Jesse's show. And I'm like, never in a million years. Because you cannot have an intelligent conversation with Jesse Lee Peterson. And these trolls of Jesse Lee Peterson. The thing that gets me is he's always saying you become like what you hate. Yeah, or you become like what you focus on. And the thing that gets me with trolls is they are just as unintelligent as Jesse is. They never say anything. They never have an opposing viewpoint. They just have carte blanche support of Jesse. Or they say, you're a Bible thumper. Like, really? And your claim to fame is that you have no intelligence, no capacity to have an articulate debate, no personal opinion. But what I'm here to tell you is, this man knows he ain't gonna have an intelligent conversation with Jesse. He did his research on Jesse. He knows Jesse, so he's getting into stoking the flames of his supporters, because he goes on after this for about I don't even know how long, just to read the comments and he's just stoking up his base, just like when Jesse has guests on. He just does it to stoke up his base.
To have that policy discussion with you. Do you agree or disagree with the George Floyd Policing and Accountability Act?
I totally disagree, because as we all know, George Floyd was a black, unemployed drug addict with a criminal record. And I just
think... let's first of all, let's clear something up, sir. You really should be ashamed of yourself. You call yourself a Christian pastor. George Floyd is dead.
It's his fault.
He's dead because a cop killed him.
No, he's dead.
You know, this rhetoric of Jesse's might appeal to people, but it's sad. It is really sad. It is really sad. And it's what you have to make a commitment to the truth. He's right. Rashad Richey is right. That's not appropriate. Nah. No. I don't look at the George Floyd situation as a template for every other situation. I mean, that happens on a continuous basis all the time. You're taking events and saying that this event and that event and that event is a representation of the hundreds and thousands of other interactions that happen all the time. Everybody was outraged. Everybody was outraged at what happened to George Floyd. But it happened because of one evil officer, not all evil officers and not all white people. But this stuff with Jesse, as a man of God, he should be ashamed. But he has no empathy. He has no conscience. He has no remorse. Psychopathy, in my opinion, is an example of the psychopathy he suffers.
Because he was a drug addict.
My question to you, and that's adverse to the evidence, by the way, what you just said. My question to you was about policy. So let me ask you, what in the policy of the George Floyd Policing Act do you disagree with?
The whole idea.
Which part of the policy? Jesse,
blaming the cops and no responsibility
Jesse,
for the blacks.
I'm asking you, what part of the policy is written?
He don't read the Bible. Jesse don't read the Bible. You think he's going to read a policy? He don't care about no policies. This man is all about personal opinion. And you knew he wasn't going to read it.
You can find it at congress.gov.
Jesse's tightening up his microphone. He's about to get down.
Do you disagree with? This is a simple question.
I disagree with the whole idea of a policy.
You haven't read the policy. You haven't even read the damn policy. Come on, Jesse.
I don't need to read it. I don't need to read it to know the truth, because what I've noticed is that black people today, due to their lack of love, their lack of believing in God, they love evil more than they love good.
He lumps all black people into a category, except for himself, That's what gets me is this black and white polarized thinking, this all or nothing thinking, this majority pejorative that Jesse's always talking about. Hey, what's happening? G, what's happening? I'm just doing this review of Jesse's time on Rashad Richey's show, Indisputable. It's about to get good. You tuned in at a good time. I've been laughing through the whole thing.
Right. So that's the reason why you don't read. And so that's the reason why you don't read.
Right, because it was written by no good black people. And why should I waste my time knowing what they're about? Black folks today, and not all, but most, have no sense of direction. They're blaming everybody but themselves. And until they take responsibility for their own lives, they are not going to get better. The real truth is,
let me ask
George Floyd is dead because of George Floyd and no one else.
That's a ridiculous point. But do you blame yourself for not reading the policy, or you blame?
You know, and the thing is, you mentioned I'm grilling on Jesse. When these trolls come on the channel and give me a hard time, you don't dissuade me. You encourage me. I want you to know that. All of these nonsensical comments in defense of a false prophet and of a person who is not a man of God, because he denies the deity of Jesus Christ, he denies the work of the cross, he denies the blood of Jesus, he denies Jesus is the way. Okay, so that's what I'm coming against him. This stuff, his race rhetoric, he's just like any other racist on the planet. The thing that I speak against Jesse about is his theology, okay? Because I'm not out here campaigning against racism, except for all of it, the extreme left racism and the extreme right racism. But yeah, when people get on there, I think I blocked 5 people today that come up with some nonsensical, idiotic comments. I mean, like I've said before, you know, I was a trainer in the military for 5 years at engineering training school. I've trained firefighters. I've trained machinists at Caterpillar for the past 25 years. And they say there's no such thing as a stupid question. And for the most part, I'd have to agree with that, you know, or a stupid question. But the things that these trolls come on here with, there's absolutely no intelligence in their comments. It's shocking. It's shocking that you could be so anti-intellectual. And I'm like, what does that even mean? You know, I like Jesse. I don't like you. You're a beta. I mean, is that it? So I look up to people. I look up to men who have intelligence. I look up to men who have logic. I look up to men who have discipline. I look up to men who give a reason, you know, like the Bible says, be prepared to give a reason for the hope that is within you. There's no hope within Jesse, but I can give a reasonable explanation and exposition of the faith. Let me keep playing this.
Somebody else.
Why should I read the policy when I already know the people?
You don't even know what's in the policy, do you?
I don't need to know. Don't want to know. I know the people who are writing it. They're no good.
Okay. Let's talk about Black Lives Matter. This is probably going to end up being an utter waste of my time having you on the show. What are your thoughts about
You
Black
don't know
Lives
that.
Matter?
You may learn something.
We'll see, preacher.
Yeah.
What is it about Black Lives Matter that you disagree with fundamentally?
Black Lives Matter was founded by a bunch of fat, black, radical lesbians.
Okay.
And who
All
hate
right,
God.
Get this clown off my show. I appreciate you.
Who
Thanks
hate
for being
God, who hate the nuclear family.
Yeah. Listen, for those of you who wanted me to continue to engage that clown on this show, I'm sorry, I just couldn't do it. I'm only a human being. So please forgive me, okay? All right. Here's what we'll do for the rest of the show.
They didn't cut his audio
I will
off.
read
He's
some
still
comments.
laughing.
And I know some of you will say, oh, Rashad, that was just so rude. And yeah, it was. I couldn't take any more of that foolishness. He's not going to make a debate in good faith. Even if you oppose whatever I believe on the most extreme policy side, at least you have a policy argument. I can engage in a good faith debate about ideas. But if you want to utilize this platform to bash gay people, to bash black people, to bash communities that are disenfranchised, if that's all you want to do, then no, you won't do that here. And I'm sure all of his...
He goes on to say he's sure all of his cronies are going to jump in his comments. And remarkably, you know, a lot of Jesse's trollers didn't go into Rashad Richey's comments. But yeah, thanks for the comment, G. I don't know if that, what, G France. Yeah, they all say, Jesse has helped me through my life. You're wrong about him. Well, there's a lot of things that help you through your life. There's a lot of things that you think help you through your life. And I'm sure you think that. Jim Jones' followers thought he was changing their lives and changing the world. David Koresh's followers were all bought in and believed he had changed their life. And they believed they had found the truth. And they believed that they were going to change the world. David Koresh led them straight to hell. Jesse Lee Peterson is following in the spiritual teachings of Roy Masters, who started this stuff up in the late 1950s. And it seems like Jesse caught on to it around the mid-70s or so. And that's all of the content of Jesse's teaching, except for, and Roy had some radical chauvinistic beliefs. And I just recently had a video with Roy Masters on it where it's in his latest years, and he had a group of elderly people that I'm sure had followed him for the better part of their entire lives. And hearing him interact with them, it was literally like a torture episode. He was cruel and they were miserable. It reminded me a bunch of elderly demons sitting in a room together. But yeah, somebody had mentioned this video, and like I said, I posted just the video up by itself before, but I wanted to just get on here with somebody else who could post some comments about this episode with Rashad and Jesse. And like I said, to me, Rashad Richey does a segment on his show, Indisputable, on the Young Turks. Just as racist as Jesse. It's called I Wish a Karen Would. And to me, that's just as racist as Jesse. And I'm going to tell you how my heart works. I did some videos on my other channel about the ASU students who kicked the white students out of the multicultural center. And I titled it, Woke Karens Kick White Students Out of Multicultural Center. And you know, it actually bothered me because I used the term Karen. If you really think about it, and you think about some of these people on the radical left, these women on the radical left who spew their racist rhetoric against white people, they're the antithesis of what the woke calls a Karen. They're a woke Karen. But I got thinking about the fact of just calling somebody that name, and I thought, I don't think that's right, you know. So what I ended up doing was, and they've stayed in the news, man. The sun is setting quick. It's getting dark quick. That's why I came out to catch some sunlight, so I wouldn't have to turn my lights on. But at any rate, what I was saying was, I started just putting it ASU woke racists when I did some other follow-up videos of their ongoing victim mentality. That the woke ASU students kicked the white students out of the multicultural center. And then after a thorough investigation, ASU, Arizona State University, said, y'all was out of line. You had no business to try to kick these white students out of here. And they enforced some disciplinary action. I think one was a 3-page paper that they had to write about the way they will handle any similar situation in the future. And these, I basically feel Jezebels, witches, because they're trying to cast a spell. They're trying to manipulate the narrative and cast a spell that they were victims while they were standing there in the victimizer's position. They were the victimizers. But because of the left's agenda, because of the radical extremist left and the current neo-Marxist CRT ideology, the leftists jumped on the bandwagon and continued to campaign for these girls being victims. He couldn't, the thing is, yeah, Calvin, I have the same amount of tolerance for Jesse's nonsense, because you can't have an intelligent conversation with Jesse, nor can you have an intelligent conversation with any of his goons and his cronies and his trolls. They never, like I said, they come on here and say, Jesse has helped me out in my life. Well, when you're in a certain kind of broken condition and somebody like Jesse Lee Peterson comes along to prey upon you, you think he's helped you, even though he's predatorized you, even though he has manipulated you, even though he's gaslighted you, even though he's practiced a thing called thought stopping. So Calvin, what I was saying was, a lot of people recommend that I go on Jesse's show to debate him. And I'm like, not interested. Absolutely no interest at all. Because the man can't have a debate. He begins name calling. He begins his narcissistic rhetoric. They call it word salad. Have you ever heard? I've studied this in depth. I've studied psychology. I've studied spiritual warfare. Yeah, and deflection. That's what it's called. Deflection, projection, gaslighting, word salad. I mean, there is a psychopathic narcissist toolkit that they use to keep from ever having to face the truth or ever having to actually have intelligent dialogue about a subject. Yeah. Hustlers. And the thing that's crazy about Jesse, and he talks about the race hustlers. And I believe there is the Al Sharptons and the Jesse Jacksons and the people who spin up the hatred on the left. They're race hustlers. But I'm like, everything about Jesse is a projection. When he talks about the left, just think about it this way. He's talking about himself on the right. He is the opposite side of the same coin. They're both not wanting to come to a knowledge of the truth. They both want to glamorize their positions. Jesse denies racism exists. Like I said on last night's live feed, racism exists, okay? It exists in white people. It exists in black people. Black people, I've sat in a room and had some stuff said about me, and someone was like, Rob's here. And then I get a comment like, he's not one of them. And I'm like, yes. Yes, I am. I get some comment that like gives me some kind of cred, and I'm like, yeah, I am. I mean, I'm not unusual just because somebody has given me like, what do you call that? Some kind of a white card or something. Like they accept me because I accept them. No, I'm representative of most of us, and I've got, tons of black friends who are honest, who are hardworking, who are good fathers, who are truthful, who have character and have virtue, and to me, that represents black people. There's good and there's bad on both sides, There's white folks, I can't stand them. They got no character. They'd steal the shirt off your back. They'd steal the shoes off your feet. All that kind of nonsense. They ain't no good. You challenged one of Jesse's followers to have a Zoom conversation, and he agreed, and a few days later they didn't show up and couldn't even email us about it. The cult is real. Yeah. Amen. I bet not. Jesse along with Officer Tatum and Mind of Jamal. What's Jamal? Mind of Jamal? What's Jamal? So you guys might not be able to see these comments, but I have your comments popping up on here. So if there's anybody watching, you want to post a comment while I'm still live, go ahead and do so. I'm running out of daylight. About to go in the house. I thought that was funny. And like I said, I mean, that is the kind of thing, it's sickening, it's grotesque, and it's really, to me, it's Jesse showing himself, you know. And somebody said, you know, he shouldn't have kicked him off, he should have exposed him. I think he exposed himself, even in that limited amount of time frame, you know. He has no intellectual argument. He has nothing but racism, chauvinism, nationalism of the worst kind. You know, like I said, I don't think Jesse served in the military. I don't think Jesse served a day in the military. Turn this on. Stupid. I don't think he served a day in the military. I did, you know. I served in the military. I love the United States because this is where God planted me. God planted me in this country. If you look in the book of Acts, you see where it says that God decided the exact times that we would live in. The time that you live in, the time that you live in, what's the name of this other fellow on here? The Mooch Man? You were created for this exact time. The geographic area you live in, God fashioned the exact geographic location of myself and everyone on earth, you know. And but God put me here, and he put me here to be a faithful witness. But I'm a faithful witness of the kingdom of God. I don't put the United States above the kingdom. I don't put the president above the king. I don't put my wife before the king. I won't put my kids before the king. Anything that would come between me and the king is got to go. Okay? Nothing's going to ruin my witness for Jesus. Nothing is worth ruining your witness. Nothing is worth losing your religion over to compromise a greater thing for such a far, far less thing. And, you know, I appreciate you trying to debate them, but they really, it's like, I don't know how to put it, you know, and I've been reading, they're so deluded, okay? They're deluded. And I've got a video that talks about leaving a narcissistic, it's a psychologist talking about leaving a narcissistic relationship or a narcissistic organization. And because the delusion has caused them to lose such a sense of themselves and to so buy into the lie that literally to come out of the delusion will mean giving up so much of themselves that it can actually cause serious mental and emotional trauma. These people are what is commonly called trauma bonded. They're trauma bonded to Jesse. They feel like Jesse's their healer. Jesse makes them feel all better in their boo-boos, licking their boo-boos and hating their mama and hating their daddy. You know, he tells them, go forgive him. But what do you have to do? And I know that there are horrible childhood abuses that do happen. In some cases, that may be who Jesse's dealing with. But in many cases, I think Jesse's dealing with some kids who probably, some of y'all may need to go back to your parents and ask for forgiveness for breaking the commandment to honor your father and mother and to submit to them. Okay? You know, I know I did. I went to my dad and reconciled with my dad, but I did so in the fact that my dad was 99% right about everything he ever tried to teach me. Okay? Me and my dad reconciled. But at any rate, I don't want to tie you up too much longer. I'm losing daylight over here. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for fighting for the faith, Mr. or Miss France. I don't know what your first name is, so I don't know who you are. Thanks for fighting for the faith, and thanks for trying to reach Jesse's trolls. They're a hard group to they're an almost impossible group to reach because of the delusion. Because you know, I was also listening to this other thing about, have you ever heard of the Age of Enlightenment? You know, that was the early, you know, late 1700s, early 1800s, where there was this time period where they started, you know, discovering the sciences and discovering education and like coming to higher levels of understanding. And basically that's when people moved away from such things as religion. Where's my glasses at? Gordon. Oh, okay, Gordon. I'm sorry. Okay, Gordon. Now I know who I'm talking to. But at any rate, and this guy was talking about the Age of Enlightenment, and we've moved now into a new age where there are intellectual people and there are academic people and there are people with intellect, but how a lot of the society does not move in intellect. A lot of the society is ruled by emotions. A lot of the society is ruled by irrationalism and driven by the consumerism trains people to react emotionally, to react to triggers, and how that's not, because consumerism is such a part of our society and really the global society, about how we're trained to react rather than intellectually. We've been trained to react emotionally. We've been trained to have emotional reactions to emotional triggers, and how that causes a person to lose the capacity for intellectual thought. There's an old movie, it's pretty old, called Idiocracy. Okay, I don't know if anybody's ever seen Idiocracy. And this guy who was like very unintelligent, I think it was made in the 80s or 90s, but his girlfriend didn't want nothing to do with him because he didn't really have a, you know, a high degree of motivation or a high degree of intellect. Somehow he gets like frozen in time, and he comes to like the world 1,000 years later, and because of the tolerance of stupidity, the guy who was the dumbest person in 1990 was the most intelligent person on the planet, and he ends up being like the president of the United States. And you just have to see it, man. If you haven't seen it, I encourage you. It's an old movie. I think it's a free movie on YouTube. Look up Idiocracy and watch it. And honestly, I feel like we're living Idiocracy now. Like you don't need to morph 1,000 years. It's happening now. It's like an anti-evolution, because people, you know, these people that run these algorithms and the people who pull, and the puppet master, the god of this world, knows how to tantalize people's appetite and get them to live without really thinking things through very well at all. All right, I'm gonna get off here, y'all. Thanks for tuning in. Like the video. If you haven't subscribe to the channel, and share this on Facebook or some other social media platform if you got a kick out of it. Thanks a lot. This is Brother Rob Wilson. Bye.